December the 7th, 1941. 6 Japanese aircraft carriers launch hundreds of planes to attack Pearl Harbor. Soldiers jump from burning warships. Fighters explode before they can take off. This is one of the bloodiest attacks in U.S. history, and no one predicted it. However, let's change one factor. Off the coast lies something incomprehensible. A super aircraft carrier displacing 100,000 tons, powered by nuclear energy from the year 2017. The USS Gerald R. Ford finds itself in a battle for which it was not intended. So what will happen when the most modern aircraft carrier on Earth finds itself at the epicenter of one of the most famous attacks in history? Can he change the course of the war? Or is it just one aircraft carrier against 6? First, let us consider what we have transported to the year 1941. The Ford is nearly 330 meters long, equivalent to 3.5 football fields, and equipped with 2 nuclear reactors that can operate for 20 years without refueling. Its weight is 100,000 tons, equivalent to 200 million pounds, and its speed is 35 meters per second, or 56 kilometers per hour. It has a dual-band radar system that can track hundreds of targets simultaneously at distances over 250 miles, as well as 75 aircraft on board, including FA-18 Super Hornets flying at Mach 1.8, stealth fighters F-35C Lightning II that are invisible to radars from 1941, EA-18G Growlers capable of disabling enemy electronics, and E-2D Hawkeye planes with radar coverage of 350 miles. The ship itself is armed with RIM-162 Sea Sparrow missiles capable of reaching speeds of 4 Mach, RIM-116 missiles designed to defend against approaching threats, and 3 CIWS systems that fire 4,500 rounds per minute. But Admiral Tsuji Nagumo's strike force is no joke. Let's see what we are up against. In total, there are 6 aircraft carriers: Akagi, Kaga, Soryu, Hiryu, Shikaku, and Zuikaku. This is the pinnacle of naval aviation in the year 1941, with air groups numbering 353 aircraft, piloted by the best pilots in the world. Among these planes are the fast and maneuverable Mitsubishi A6M Aero, Aichi D3A bombers, and Nakajima B5N torpedo bombers, which use specially modified torpedoes for shallow waters, created specifically for Pearl Harbor. These pilots prepared for several months under the guidance of Commander Mutiro Fui. They created scaled models of Pearl Harbor and practiced until they could fly the attack route blindfolded. The Japanese plan consists of sending 2 waves. The first should strike airfields and warships simultaneously to prevent American retaliation, and the second should destroy everything that remains. It is devastating and, according to historical data, worked perfectly. At 5:30 in the morning, Japanese pilots received final instructions 230 miles north of Oahu when radar operators on the Gerald R. Ford noticed something interesting. Signals appear on their screens, seemingly moving directly toward them at a speed of 180 knots. The Combat Information Center on board lights up, and within seconds, the ship's computers identify all 183 aircraft in the first wave. The radar tracks their altitude, speed, course, and even assesses fuel levels. The aircraft carrier captain does not hesitate, and alarm signals echo throughout the ship, ordering pilots to take their places in the planes. Minutes later, the electromagnetic catapults begin launching the first fighters in response. By 6 in the morning, the Super Hornet squadron is already in the air, rapidly climbing to 40,000 feet. Below, Japanese pilots in open cockpits are 150 miles from Pearl Harbor and are completely unaware that they are becoming victims of a hunt. The first launch of the AMRAAM rocket occurs at 6:45 in the morning. From the Japanese side, senior sailor Takeshi Maeda checks the fuel level when a plane next to him explodes before his eyes. There were no warnings, and the enemy is still unseen. Panic grips the formation as pilots search for the enemy attacking from a distance. Some dive rapidly towards the ground while others desperately climb upwards. The tightly knit attacking formation, perfected over months, disintegrates into chaos in seconds. The first attackers are Super Hornets, opening fire from 30 meters away, their missile systems allowing pilots to simply lock on and forget. Commander Fua tries to restore order over the radio but notices that something is wrong. Several of his planes are indeed missing, but even those still in the air do not respond to his call. EA-18G Growlers have arrived. Their electronic warfare systems render all Japanese radio devices useless. The coordinated Japanese group is now deaf and alone on the empty horizon, pursued by a predator they have yet to see. The first wave loses 60 planes before Pearl Harbor comes into view, but the Japanese continue to carry out their mission. As the pilots approach Pearl Harbor, they encounter Ford's second line of defense. F-35C Lightning IIs circle above them at 15,000 feet. Japanese pilots finally see who they are fighting, but F-35s attack with infrared missiles targeting the heat of the engines, and the outcome remains the same. Even more Zeros fall from the sky, leaving behind trails of thick smoke. While the battle rages in the air, the torpedo bombers descend to wave level in a desperate attempt to carry out their attack. At this stage, the Ford's CIWS phalanx system activates, firing thousands of tungsten rounds that tear apart any unauthorized aircraft entering a 3-meter radius from the aircraft carrier. By 8 in the morning, when the attack is supposed to reach its peak, a line of warships remains untouched. A small number of Japanese planes barely break through and drop their bombs randomly. Most of them fall into the water, but the few that find their targets face vigilant American gunners who have prepared for the attack during the hour since the arrival of the Gerald at the base. The radar remains suppressed. Japanese aircraft carriers have no idea what's happening. Therefore, their only option is to assume they are still on schedule and send the second wave. 70 aircraft head straight for the nest of Super Hornets, ready to attack at 35,000 feet. At 8:40 in the morning, Lieutenant Commander Sigakazu Shimadaki leads the second wave south. By this time, the Ford has already launched everything necessary. The entire fleet is tracked on radar, while the Growler has already suppressed their radio signals. F-35 fighters patrol at medium altitude, while Super Hornets create a kill zone. Mass destruction intensifies as a Japanese formation enters the airspace of Pearl Harbor. Now they face not only fighters, but also the close air defense armament of the Ford aircraft carrier, as well as every ready-to-fight naval anti-aircraft gun on Oahu. The sky becomes a network of tracer rounds and explosions that destroy the attackers. By 9:45 in the morning, over 140 planes were lost in the second echelon. The few survivors scatter across the Pacific Ocean, most running out of fuel before finding their aircraft carriers. Shimazaki dies when the detection system mistakenly guides his torpedo bomber to an explosion 1,000 yards from the battle line. But the aircraft carrier Ford does not intend to stop. As Japanese planes rush north, the carrier launches a strike group. 30 Super Hornets armed with Harpoon anti-ship missiles, guided bombs, and coordinates of the last known position of the Japanese fleet. The Japanese aviation, Kido Butai, was left without air support. Each fighter was either in the water or on its last breath. Observers notice approaching planes, but their anti-aircraft guns are meant for targets moving at 300 miles per hour, not at 1,200. All they can do is watch. Akagi takes 3 Harpoon missiles to the center and splits in half. Aviation fuel explodes on Kaga after a direct hit from a guided bomb weighing 2,000 pounds. For 20 minutes, 4 Japanese aircraft carriers burn and sink. The remaining 2 run west at maximum speed, their captains desperately transmitting messages about planes flying faster than sound and self-guided missiles. But the planes are still in the air, and the only ones receiving their messages are those standing next to them. When the smoke clears, the Battle of Pearl Harbor becomes Japan's worst naval defeat. They lose over 300 planes, 4 fleet aircraft carriers, and their best pilots. While American losses are in the dozens, the Pacific Fleet is ready for war.